A manhunt is currently underway after a terrorist incident at an FBI office in Pittsburgh. The suspect, Donald Henson, allegedly crashed into the gate, grabbed an American flag from the vehicle, and threw it over the fence before fleeing, the FBI said. Now, right now, it doesn't seem that we know what the motive is. This man rammed the gate, jumped out through the flag, and has fled. And as of right now, they're currently looking for the individual. They know his name, but they don't know exactly why he's doing it. Now, they've also said they believe he was suffering a mental health issue of some sort. So I don't want this to come off like it is overtly political. We don't know that yet. And it seems like it probably isn't. My understanding is this man had a military background, but we don't really know why this happened. NBC News reports the FBI in Pittsburgh is looking for the driver of a car that allegedly rammed into its city field office on Wednesday in what officials have described as an act of terror. FBI Pittsburgh Assistant Special Agent in Charge Christopher Giordano said in a Wednesday news conference that the Bureau was searching for Donald Henson from Penn Hills, a township east of Pittsburgh. The FBI is appealing for information on his whereabouts. Henson allegedly crashed into the gate, then grabbed an American flag from the vehicle and threw it over the fence before fleeing the scene. Quote, "We're hoping by putting his photograph and his name out there that we will start getting some tips from the public. We look at this as an act of terror against the FBI. This is a targeted attack on this building. Thankfully, no one was hurt." Now, I don't know any potential motivations. We can discuss what is currently going on politically in this country pertaining to the FBI, and maybe that might give us a clue, but there's no indication that we know for sure. Kash Patel had a fiery Senate hearing yesterday as the head of the FBI, where he very much insulted Adam Schiff and Cory Booker, literally and directly. Now, he called Adam Schiff a lot of names, insulted him, and basically just said that he was a bad guy, he was criminal, he was evil, etc. I'm paraphrasing. Now, immediately following, this is 2 in the morning, we get an attack like this. So perhaps this guy is motivated something having to do with that. To which direction, I don't know. But attacking an FBI office and ramming the gate, they're saying, again, they believe it was a mental health thing. But let's read more. In a statement on X, this FBI Pittsburgh said this incident is considered a targeted attack on the FBI. Images from the scene obtained by NBC affiliate WPXI Pittsburgh showed a white Toyota Corolla had apparently driven into a metal fence. And so I think that's the footage we see, the image we see right here, actually. And I don't know. They say if any family members see this and have any information that could help us safely take this individual into custody, that would be greatly appreciated. Henson is not thought to be armed. The FBI believes he does have a history of mental health problems. However, that is a vague statement. We don't quite know for sure. Now, the bigger question in seeing this, of course, considering the assassination of Charlie Kirk, devastating, and the current rhetoric that has emerged. Even Joe Scarborough, Morning Joe from MS Now, that's the name of the new channel, MSNBC, is talking about civil war. And I think this story from the Wrap, Morning Joe baffled by civil war cries from those who said nothing after attacks on Democrats. I think this exemplifies why we have the possibility of civil war. Now, this is from a couple days ago, of course, following the assassination of Kirk, but this man does, and is currently lives in a bubble, isolated from the real world. He doesn't understand what's going on. Now, why do I bring this up? The incident at the FBI office, minimal as it seems. A guy crashed into a fence. It's bad. Into the iron gate is bad. Seems like nobody got hurt. Very good. But when people ask, what does civil war look like? They base it on the movies. They base it on the American Civil War, which was a union of sovereign states going to war with each other. My friends, if you have read about the Syrian Civil War, the Arab Spring, and these uprisings, this is what it looks like. And I'm not saying we're in a civil war. No. I'll read this in a second. What I'm saying is, typically for the average person, when these conflicts arise, in a true context, what will you likely see? You will turn on the TV and you will see a story of a man ramming a gate. And you'll go, whoa. You'll change the channel and they'll be talking about a political assassination. You'll turn the next channel on and it'll be someone saying, conservatives are evil. You know, Charlie Kirk was an unrepentant racist. And you're like, how could they be saying this about Charlie right now? You'll turn on MSNBC and they will be saying, I only know good, virtuous liberals. It's the conservatives that are doing it. And of course, conservatives will say the inverse. Liberals are calling for war and death, cheering this on CNN, they're denying it. What we are looking at is you will turn on the news and hear about some violent incident, and it would be banal. And then you'll turn on these news channels, and they will be in their bubbles. Let me read this for you. I'll tell you what he said. Before we do, my friends, castbrew.com. In a true sign of the nightmare dystopia that we live in, as I talk about violent attacks on the FBI and the potential for civil war, I must take this time to say Cast Brew Coffee. Buy Cast Brew Coffee because it'll keep you awake, it tastes great, and ain't no better coffee. Talk about living in a nightmare of a hellish reality. Well, can't say that I don't self-reflect. We have a coffee company. It's called Cast Brew. We sell delicious coffees. Appalachian Nights is everybody's favorite. Ian's Graphene Dream is really taken this. I got to be honest. Ian's Graphene Dream is probably the favorite coffee right now. It's low acidity, so it's easy on people's stomach. And we've got the 1776 Signature Brew. It's American cream flavor. It's like a Boston cream. We have Birthday Blend, which is a birthday cake. These are our new flavors. Look at that, Josie, the redheaded libertarian. Absolutely fantastic. And of course, when you buy the brew, featuring the personality, we do pay royalties in a cut, so we are all out of Alex Stein's primetime grind. But when you buy Luck of the Seamus or 2 Weeks Till Christmas, you're supporting those individuals who have granted their likeness for our coffee company. So check out castbrew.com. And welcome to Nightmare Dystopia, which will be made fun of for generations to come, where people are coming on the news and saying, the world is ending, civil war is here, people are dying, and make sure you pick up a brand new case of diapers. I get it. Hey, but sponsorships make the world go around. Let's take an opportunity to talk about what this story is from Yahoo News. Morning Joe host Joe Scarborough says he's baffled that some right-wing podcasters are now calling for civil war. Let me just sing. They're lying. They're liars. It's absolutely remarkable. Now, anybody who knows me knows that I have said consistently, I do not believe we're in a civil war. The possibility of civil war seems very high. We are in civil strife. That's an academic term describing the amount of political deaths we've seen so far, and that is a fact statement. The criteria for civil strife was set long time ago, and now we have entered into a period of that criteria. So it's not an unreasonable assessment. It's, hey, you know they defined civil strife 50 years ago? We are in that period right now, based on those definitions. So that is currently happening. What they do is they then claim that when we bring this up, we are calling for it. But I will stress it again. You don't want it. I warn you, you do not want it. We do not want it. What I want is law enforcement, stability, and I want to kick back on a lounge chair, crack open a box of hot wings, dip it in some ranch dressing, and watch some poker. I'm not a football guy. I like watching the WPT, and I like watching Hustler Casino and the Lodge. Watching them poker games is good fun. You got it in the background. You're hanging out with your buddies. Maybe we'll play some Magic the Gathering. That's what we do. Then I'll go skate. Doesn't that sound great? Maybe you and your buddies will do some crazy parlay on FanDuel or something. I don't know how it works. And you're watching a football game and you're like, oh boy, if this team wins this and then this, that, and throws this far, I'll win $1 million. That's fun, right? That's what we want. We don't want civil war. We want luxury. And civil war will destroy any semblance of that. This is what they do. Quote, so here are these people talking about civil war now. Just again, it's baffling when they seem so disinterested when the attempted killings, when the assaults were on the other side. Scarborough said during the Monday morning MSNBC segment, noting that he is certain that most people would agree that conservative activist Charlie Kirk's fatal shooting was a tragedy. Quote, I think every sane American, every American I've actually spoken to in person since this terrible, terrible tragedy, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, have been horrified and asked the same question. When is this going to end? I don't know. Did you see the video of the, was it Texas University or something, where the guy jumps up on the statue and then slaps his neck and falls and they've kicked him out of school? Have you seen the nurses, doctors, teachers who have been fired from their jobs? You can't simultaneously claim that no one is celebrating this, and every person I've talked to has said it's a horrible thing, but also then go, why are they getting people fired from their jobs for celebrating Charlie Kirk's demise? That's not fair. Which is it? Is no one celebrating it and they're all upset, or are people celebrating it and it's fascism to get them fired from their jobs? Now, I will be honest. When you come to me and you say that somebody celebrated Charlie's death, so you got them fired, I don't care. Now, when you come to me and say that, for instance, there's a story about a journalist who was like, I criticized Charlie Kirk and they fired me. Actually, the story is this individual. There was an individual, and I'll keep their name because I don't know exactly what's going on. It's my opinion. Apparently, the individual was accused of fabricating quotes. Like Mehdi Hassan, who I will call out specifically, who didn't get fired, published a page of out-of-context quotes. And the New York Times even had to issue a correction because this is what they do. So when I say this, I think every sane American, every American I've actually spoken to in person since this terrible tragedy, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, has been horrified and asked the same question, when is this going to end? What they'll do is, I just read a quote from Joe Scarborough, and the left and these fake NGOs will take what I said and apply it to me and say, Tim Pool said this. Because it's true, I did say it, but I was reading a quote from somebody else. Then they can ascribe what this person says to me. How can we come together? Had one law enforcement officer say, how do we keep social media away from our children? How much longer does this continue? We are not just hearing it from people that are trying to fan the flames and talking about civil war. I will stress this. There is nothing you can do. I wish there was. I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but there is a reality to the circumstances. You see, Joe Scarborough lives in a bubble, or he's lying. Because how about this? Jessica Tarlov even pushed the phony Groyper lie on The Five, and no one corrected her. Axios put out a statement being like, yeah, this is all fake. They make these things up. The shooter was actually a Groyper. They lied. Politics girl, Lee McGowan, I'm going to shout you out whenever I can because she put out a video that was overt fabrications. That instead of saying the motive of the guy, which the investigators now believe he was in a relationship with a trans person, so he killed Charlie Kirk, and the statements from the messages that have been released in the charging document, in which the shooter said he is hateful and you can't negotiate with it. She claimed he came from a conservative background, as if to imply it was as a MAGA guy. And Jimmy Kimmel did the same thing. So you want to play these games, Joe? I will tell you this. It's called the banality of evil. Now, I don't know who is demonic and who isn't. Figuratively or literally. Maybe you don't believe in demons. Fine, I don't care. Then demonic is figurative to you and literal to those who believe. Right? That works. I don't know who is. What I can say is Joe Scarborough is either evil or the banality of evil. And what is the banality of evil? It is when evil actions become commonplace and accepted in society. That's just and it is a common occurrence. It has always existed. Slavery, everybody was okay with it. They were like, I don't know, it's just a normal way of life. Right, but slavery is evil. The ownership of another human is wrong. And so, we asked this question of Joe Scarborough. When he says this stuff, why weren't they saying anything about the Democrats? We did. When Destiny says, not a single mainstream conservative, his mouth is rocking back and forth, will condemn the violence or call for this to be calmed down. Literally, Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, literally every prominent mainstream conservative has been saying, you do not want violence. This needs to stop the whole time. But they're lying. Now, I'll tell you this. I hate bringing his name up, but the dude is just overtly lying, just literally lying all the time. Joe Scarborough might just be a lunatic trapped in a bubble who doesn't have the cognitive faculties in which he can actually try to understand what's going on in this world. Now, I can be honest with you guys and tell you this. When you assess the news and break it all down, what do we find? Prominent left-aligned NGOs claim anything that is not left is effectively right-wing. White supremacy, they call right-wing. Why? What does meritocracy have to do with racial identitarianism? Nothing. So Charlie Kirk, who's a conservative and right-wing, and he says things like, we want a race-neutral country and merit matters more, and it's about if you're a good person. Race doesn't matter. They claim that this man, who despised white supremacy, was. They're lying. And so they put out these numbers and they say that the right is far more violent. Why? Because they will claim anything under the sun is right wing. There's a category called other. The ADL, I've shown it over and over again. Then people like Joe Scarborough goes, whoa, look how much right wing violence there is. They're lying. The honest assessment. Typically, throughout the past 10 to 20 years, we have what I will describe it as the blunt violence of the left versus the acute violence of right, tangentially aligned individuals. That is, there have been people who were traditionalist in some capacity or held some traditional views, which is somewhat right aligned, and they engaged in a violent attack on a group of people based on race or just randomly, in fact. And they'll say because the person had said certain things or had some right-aligned views, it was a right-inspired attack. Maybe. But these are one-off, rare, violent. Everyone condemns them. The left has what's called blunt, and that is endless, everyday stories of leftists attacking people. But if a leftist punches a guy in the mouth, it doesn't make national headlines because it's just a fight. But it happens all the time. And so we've had protests, riots, we've had billions of dollars in damages. But in the George Floyd riots, you did not get a single individual who went and massacred a ton of people. You just got 30 or so people murdered in the riots. And so none of them become themselves an individual story. That is, it is blunt. It is occurring quite a bit all the time. What I will say now is, in the past several years, we actually don't really have acute right violence. It has been transgender mass shooters. It has been mentally ill, nondescript shooters and killers. And the media and the left, they have these fake NGOs. They'll create an organization that purports to be a research organization whose real intent is to launder false information and control the narrative. The end of USAID may help put a stop to this, but this is what they'll do. Institution will run a fake study where they'll claim that a white supremacist who beat his wife is a right-inspired violent attack. Or they'll just create a criteria by which white supremacy is right-wing. It's not. It is on its own. White supremacy is an ideology. It is not inherently right or left. There are people on the left who are white supremacists. It's a fact. In fact, I think many of them actually are. We call them white supremacists with guilty consciences. But I mean, like, no. Outside of any being cute, there are people who think certain races are inferior, and they want left economic social policy. That exists. But when they say white supremacy is right-wing, you run into a problem because there are many white supremacists. I've interviewed them, race realists, at events who say they want universal health care. They want to tax the rich. They want a communist-style government, but they are racial supremacists because racial supremacy is external to economic and traditional, cultural, or otherwise. And so there's a prison gang and they're white supremacists and they get into a fight over lunch, literally over like what lunch they're eating. And they'll lump that in with violent white supremacy attacks and they'll call it generically right wing. Joe Scarborough isn't smart enough to see through this. And thus we have a broken country. How you fight against this, honestly, I don't know. But what I will say is this, and I'll kind of wind things down. I got a lot to talk about today. The attack on the FBI office seems not that important, to be completely honest. It's bad, don't get me wrong. The point I'm making about civil war is, what will it look like for you? You will turn on the news, and they will say, a terror attack targeting an FBI office happened at 2:40 in the morning. A man by the name of Donald Henson, is that his name? Donald Henson, is currently being sought by the FBI after ramming his car into the Iron Gate, exiting the vehicle, throwing an American flag before fleeing. If you have any information, please contact your local office. In other news, a bomb detonated in other news, a shooting here, there. Prices of groceries are expected to rise after a road. I know people keep saying, Tim, you keep saying I-95 in Texas, because I'm just throwing out random numbers. I get it. I know I-95 runs north to south. State Highway 95. The point I'm making is you'll turn the news on and they will say a road in Juarez has been bombed in a terror attack, cutting off trade from Mexico into the United States. We expect to see prices rise on certain goods that originate in the region. In other news, a man rammed the FBI. My point is, it's not going to be that you will hear, like the movie Civil War is all wrong. You're not going to get you turn on the news and it's going to be like, the Western Liberation Front has breached the Colorado border. It's just not going to be like that. That maybe in a few years near the end of Civil War. If you even look at the U.S. Civil War, which was sovereign states forming unions and then fighting each other, the battlefronts were few and far between until the invasion of Gettysburg and then, of course, the March to the Sea and things like this. Ultimately, my friends, it will look like this. Most of you won't see a thing. Your prices will go up. There will be uncertainty. It'll be hard to get certain products. That's when you are in a civil war. Then one day you'll turn on the TV and the news anchor will say, a new government is being sworn in. What's really interesting is that it may be as simple as a new president being sworn in outside of the electoral process. That's it. It could be something as simple as President Trump is resigning as Congress moves to a sweeping overhaul with 200 members being recalled. And President Erickson will be stepping in and taking the role. And it could be as simple as that. We don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I'll leave it there. Smash the like button. Share the show with everyone you know. Thanks for hanging out. Stay tuned. More to come, and we'll see you on the next segment.